Have you ever caught yourself reaching for the phone the second it buzzes, fingers already typing before you've even read the full message? Or maybe you've answered a call on the first ring, mid-conversation with someone right in front of you, because you didn't want to seem rude by letting it go to voicemail. You're always online, always reachable, always ready, and deep down you've started to notice something unsettling. The people you make time for don't seem to value your time the same way anymore. Replies come slower from them, plans get made without checking your schedule, conversations drift away when you're not the one keeping them alive. It's quiet, it's gradual, but it's real. The faster you reply, the less weight your presence carries. If that sentence just landed somewhere uncomfortable, stay with me. Because in a world that rewards constant connection, being available all the time is one of the fastest ways to quietly lower your own value. This isn't about being cold or playing games. It's about a fundamental truth most of us learned the hard way over decades. Rarity creates value. Think back to basic economics, supply and demand. When something is everywhere, it feels cheap. When something is scarce, it feels precious. The same principle applies socially. Limited access increases perceived importance. When people have to wait for your response, anticipate your callback, or wonder when they'll hear from you again, a small dose of dopamine anticipation builds in their brain that waiting creates desire. Humans are wired to value what requires effort or delay. It's why a handwritten letter feels more meaningful than an instant text, why a rare visit from an old friend means more than daily check-ins. Over the years, the people who mattered most in your life probably weren't the ones who were always around. They were the ones whose time felt like a gift. Over-availability flips that dynamic on its head. You start waiting for them. You respond before they've finished typing. You rearrange your afternoon the moment they suggest meeting. You become utterly predictable, like a light that's always on. And predictability quietly kills mystery. When there's no uncertainty about when or how you'll show up, people stop wondering about you. They stop investing mental energy in you. Reduced mystery lowers perceived power. You've lived long enough to see this in action. The colleague who was always the first to volunteer got assigned the grunt work. The friend who answered every late-night crisis call eventually became the crisis counselor instead of the confidant. Constant availability trains others to treat you as background rather than foreground. Attention is the real currency in human relationships, and the imbalance shows up in tiny, telling ways. Who chases whom? Who initiates contact more often? Who fills awkward silences first? Who sends the second text when the first one isn't answered? The person investing more attention almost always holds less power. It's a status rule carved into social behavior across generations. The one who cares less, or at least appears to, holds the leverage. When you're the one double texting, laughing first at their jokes, or jumping to reply, you're quietly signaling that your time and emotional energy are more abundant than theirs. Over time, that imbalance reshapes how people see you. They stop asking for your opinion with the same seriousness because they assume you'll always be there to give it. Response time ties directly into the respect equation. A delayed, thoughtful reply carries more weight than an instant one. It signals emotional control, self-possession, stability. When you don't react immediately, you create a small pocket of tension, and that tension is powerful. Neuroscience backs this up. Anticipation lights up the brain's reward pathways far more than instant gratification does. The person who has to wait a little feels the pull stronger. They start valuing your input more because getting it feels earned. In contrast, instant replies become expected, then invisible, then taken for granted. You've probably felt this shift in your own circles. The friend who used to call excited to share news now sends a quick message and moves on because your immediate availability no longer feels special. The hidden costs pile up quietly. Constant accessibility breeds emotional exhaustion. You're always on, always monitoring, always ready to pivot. Mystery fades, replaced by familiarity that borders on boredom. You slide into the role of default option, the safe, reliable choice people turn to when nothing better is happening. And once your baseline appreciation drops, people treat constant availability the way they treat gravity, necessary, but not noteworthy. Behavioral patterns shift without anyone saying a word. They stop saying thank you for your time because they assume it's infinite. They stop checking in because they know you'll check in first. It's not malice. It's human nature adjusting to new supply levels. Time itself becomes the clearest marker of hierarchy. High-status individuals, whether in business, family, or social circles, guard their hours fiercely. They don't offer them freely. Low-status individuals hand them over without hesitation. Your calendar reflects your rank more honestly than any title ever could. The person whose schedule is packed yet flexible for the right people commands respect. The person whose schedule is wide open for everyone starts to fade into the scenery. After years of managing responsibilities, raising children, running households, holding jobs, you know how precious time really is. Yet in the name of kindness or connection, many of us give it away too easily, only to watch others treat it as disposable. One of the biggest traps is confusing responsiveness with importance. We tell ourselves that being quick to reply makes us indispensable, that instant availability proves we're needed. But the opposite is often true. People respect what they have to work for. Ease reduces appreciation. The harder someone has to try to reach you, the more they value the connection once they get it. This is why the busiest, most respected people in your life often seem the hardest to pin down. Not because they're arrogant, but because they've learned that protecting their time protects their standing. The digital age has made this problem epidemic. Read receipts, online indicators, status updates, constant notifications. They all scream, "I'm here, right now." That permanent visibility slashes leverage. In the past, a missed call or a letter left unanswered for a day carried no judgment. Today, silence feels like a statement. The pressure to reply fast has trained entire generations to equate speed with courtesy, but it's eroded the natural rhythm of human exchange. For those of us who remember life before smartphones, this constant tether feels foreign and exhausting. Yet many still fall into the trap, checking the phone every few minutes, afraid that a delay will be read as disinterest. The way out is recalibration, not rudeness. Slow your response patterns deliberately. Let messages sit for a reasonable time, sometimes hours, sometimes a day. Stop explaining every delay with apologies or excuses. Quiet confidence needs no footnotes. Create natural communication windows. Perhaps you check messages in the morning and evening, or you're unavailable during certain hours. Be reachable, but never instantly reactive. Control access without hostility. It's a subtle shift, but it reintroduces anticipation and respect into the dynamic. The deepest change happens inside, the emotional discipline of ignoring the phone when it buzzes. Sitting with the notification, feeling the pull, and choosing not to act on it right away. Resisting the urge to reply immediately. Training yourself in delayed gratification. That small act of self-control projects dominance far more than any quick-witted response ever could. It says, without words, my time has boundaries. My attention has value. Here's the final truth that cuts through the noise. When you're always available, you're always replaceable. The moment your presence becomes expected rather than anticipated, you slide down the invisible ladder of importance. But the beautiful part is that this isn't permanent. You've spent a lifetime earning wisdom, steadiness, perspective. Now apply that same quiet authority to how you manage your availability. Pull back just enough to remind people what they're missing when you're not right there. Let the pauses speak. Let the delays build value. Because the fastest way to raise your worth isn't to do more. It's to be less instantly obtainable. This realization hits hardest for those who've lived long enough to see relationships evolve, to watch loyalty shift, to notice how time changes everything. Yet it also offers one of the cleanest paths back to feeling respected in your own skin. Start today. Let one message sit unanswered a little longer. Let one call go to voicemail without guilt. Watch what happens, not in dramatic confrontation, but in the subtle way people begin to lean in again, to wait for you, to value the space you occupy. You're not becoming distant. You're simply remembering that your presence is a gift, not a given. And gifts are cherished most when they're rare.